flesh is not meant to be incinerated, and that we say no to the madness. The other purpose is to build community, which is why we are going to ask people to come up to take the microphone with a personal short message of what Hiroshima, Nagasaki, nuclear weapons, Raytheon, a permanent war economy, a permanent war culture, means to us on an individual level. After that, depending what security does, we can all walk to the new main entrance by the red flag and deliver the cease and desist order that Thea wrote so well. Does that make sense? And what? Okay, so that's it. Just before we go, I will read to everybody the cease and desist order, and then, depending what happens with security, if anything, we can all walk to the main entrance to hand deliver this. Thank you very much. Now, if somebody would like to come up, and I will sanitize. We want to maintain the 6-foot distance. Folks are doing really well. I know this is not easy. We're social animals, which is one of the reasons that this group is here right now. I will sanitize the microphone between each speaker. We have hand sanitizer and wipes. Okay, please, personal reflections.
Someone going to read the declaration at some point?
Yes, just before we go.
Can you all hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? All right. I'm Thea Paneth, and I've been involved in this little group to make this happen. So my mother was a nuclear victim, indirectly caught by prevailing nuclear madness, characterized by the institutional, pervasive lies about the dangers of everything nuclear, including X-rays. Radiation was administered instead of a readily available antibiotic. Doctors gave her cancer, and cancer killed her. She was 60 years old, and I speak these words today in her memory. We're here at Raytheon on the 75th anniversary of Hiroshima to protest because Raytheon is a merchant of death. Raytheon's business is to develop ways to kill people with monstrous weapons, nuclear and conventional. The people who are killed are mostly poor and in faraway countries. The workers here get paid lots of money, have nice lives, send their children to good schools, and no police officers ever kneel on their necks until they die of asphyxiation. But their work is an abomination that leads to the worst sin, the sin of inflicting harm and death on other people. That the work done here is seen as legitimate and so amply rewarded is part of the cancer of militarism that plagues our nation, taking hold of hearts and minds in the way cancer takes hold of a cell and replicates. The illness of militarism, the war culture, is justified as national security, but it's all about killing. It's killing all of us, our hearts, our minds, and so many bodies. Trillions get spent, children go hungry, water and air are polluted, sacred lands destroyed, millions of people are turned out of their homes. All this horror is what the war culture does. And nuclear weapons are the height of the madness. If used, they will destroy the planet and all of us. Those who rule the world with a code of plunder and destruction have no mercy. And we're seeing that every day in the news with our government's failure to properly respond to the pandemic. We who hear the cries of the wounded, the suffering, must bend our collective will to prevent the rulers from irreparable destruction. The hour is late. By the doomsday clock, we are at 100 seconds to midnight. The forever wars and forever arms race cannot continue. Nuclear weapons must be abolished. All wars must be ended. We must avert great catastrophe and learn to share the wealth. Today, we'll deliver a cease and desist letter to Raytheon as a way to take responsibility for what is done in our name. One of the greatest joys of my life is to stand with you, as we have done so many times, to protest the weapons, the wars, the tremendous cruelties. We stand here for love of people, and our Mother Earth.
Thank you, Thea. And again, folks, we do have chalk up here. We encourage you to write messages of peace. All right, who else would like to share, please?
I remember 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, spending time with my aunt and uncle in rustic New Hampshire. And my uncle, who was then in his 70s, which I thought was very old at that point, talked so sadly about August 6th and the bombing of Hiroshima. And I was startled and moved at how current it still felt to him. He had been in World War II in the military. I don't remember what he did. But it was still with him, and he grieved every August 6th. Also, my daughter has a boyfriend whose family is from Yemen, and he is suffering greatly. He sends money to 18 of his relatives who are in Yemen. And it makes it very close to me to think that this man, Mohammed, is working hard to support his family and to support 18 relatives in Yemen, who we and Raytheon, we complicitly are bombing. So we are all part of one world. We are all united in ways that we sometimes don't see. But we are all together in this. And I'm so glad all of you are here and that I can be here.
I think there's a link to the pandemic. Of course, we know there are many links, but I was talking to my dad on the phone when the pandemic was sort of first hitting, and he said, "Who could have foreseen this?" And I said, the Defense Department. They did. They foresaw it. Did they do anything? But he said, oh, but you know, you can't just have all these resources sitting around waiting for a pandemic. I said, why not? The military does that all the time. And it's like hard to turn the barge from that thinking that that's what keeps us safe. That's why we have to invest all of this money. So many things that are happening now are a result of misappropriation of our resources. And this is a prime example. I mean, there's the nuclear threat, but there's also just all these resources going to things that are not making us safer. And it's really, really hard to communicate that and get that through. But I think actually in that phone conversation, my dad went, oh, right. Just for a minute at least, he could see what was going on. And I feel like that's part of our task, is just to say what's going on and what's not going on as a result of what's happening here, and in other places all over the country. Yeah.
Anybody else, please?
Hi, in 2001, I was a member of the Cambridge Peace Commission, and the Cambridge Peace Commission at that time was very active internationally. We were part of the Peace Messenger Cities and also Mayors for Peace. So we were invited to send a delegate to Hiroshima and Nagasaki for the commemoration in August. And I was the lucky one because I had free time in August. And it was incredible. First, we had 3 days in Yokohama with the Peace Messenger Cities. And then I chose to live with a family. We had the option of staying in a hotel or staying with a family in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I had the honor and the absolute blessing of really getting to know these families. One of them who, as a young man, the father, as a young boy, was a survivor of, he was actually taken right out of Hiroshima, but he had survived. And it was just an incredible experience with people from all over the world. We were there for the 8:15 bell, like this morning, and then on the 9th in Nagasaki. And shortly after I got back was September 11th. This was 2001. I immediately got amazing number of emails from the families that I had met. How are you? Are you okay? We're just thinking about you. We're thinking about everybody in Boston, New York, and Washington, and you know, all the places that were affected. And all I could think was, my goodness, you know, what they had been through was 10 million times more. And but how, you know, here it was. And that's the most important thing of the people-to-people peace work. You know, today we can't go flying off to Japan, but we can be here and we can show that we remember. You know, this is not something we're ever going to forget, and we're going to make sure it never happens again. And our brothers and sisters in Japan are also commemorating the 75th, you know, in a slightly different way, but we're all together in this, and we're going to make sure it never, never, never happens again. Thank you.